Crypto finally has its A team. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ainslie Insights, brought to you by Ainslie Bullion, Ainslie Crypto, and the Gold and Silver Standard. Today, welcome back Matt for the first time in 2025 to catch us up on what has been a spectacular start to the year in the crypto markets. Happy New Year, and how are you going today, Matt?
Happy New Year, Tipper. I'm great. Hope the rest of our crypto family is great out there. Very exciting times.
I'm sure a lot of them are, particularly I know, you know, I say this with a bit of tongue in cheek, but I know you as a bit of a XRP maxi, and oh boy, has it had some gains this period of time. So it's been smiles from ear to ear every
Yeah.
time I pass Matt in the office. But let's start us off not in XRP, but let's start us off in Bitcoin. We've passed that $100,000 milestone again. It's really been very interesting actually to watch this unfold. Talk us through what's been happening. What are the key factors that are driving us here?
Okay, so look, Bitcoin is responding to a very positive pro-crypto, potentially US government coming into power. Mentions prior to Trump getting in, obviously, were surrounding things such as the Bitcoin strategic reserve, and that whipped up a bit of a frenzy as well. Look, this could be just natural liquidity cycles coming into play. But on a political sense and a narrative sense, yeah, it really did stir the pot there, thinking that this could be quite an epic bull run in Bitcoin of itself, which, it tends to drag the market with it. So excitement for those that potentially don't have Bitcoin or have altcoins, but Bitcoin, as it usually does, leads the pack.
And let's talk about that a little bit. This concept of altcoin versus Bitcoin there, because I mean, sometimes you think you're living on an alternate timeline when Donald Trump's in anywhere near power, but we saw the Trump token, which is obviously a meme coin, an alt in this scenario that just came out of nowhere. It was official, like launched through his campaign, launched through his Twitter account, and that would have to tell you that at least in his mind, he's not concerned about regulation being in the way, because
Yeah,
that's pretty out there as a move.
yeah.
Controversial on some levels, but also you would have to say it's overly very positive for the market, surely.
Yeah, there's quite a few layers to pull apart there, Tipper. So um, let's just say the meme coin coming out, and that was on the Solana network. He's a master salesman, so to speak, and to drive notoriety or interest just prior to the inauguration just the other day, yeah, it whips up a frenzy in the population and so forth and gets them interested. So he's a master at that, and he did do that. Meme coins, look, they have a place, and obviously he's tapped into that. The thing that interests me is the way he did that. So from my understanding, and I haven't delved deep into the Trump token to be honest, but my understanding is that 80% of it's locked up by the initial holders of the tokens, such as the Trump family or confidants or close colleagues, and 20% is out on the market. That would be concerning if the previous administration was in, such as the Genslers and so forth with the SEC. I think that would come under scrutiny if Trump wasn't projected to be the incoming president. Let's just say he was just citizen Trump. Then I think the SEC would have been all over him, similar to what was playing out with the young girl that was had a meme coin there that got rug pulled, and she was facing some trouble there with the DOJ. Haley, whatever her name was, I can't really remember. I think in a different landscape, Trump doing this would have signaled something from the DOJ or something more from the SEC going after him and so forth. But now that he is president and the SEC is pro-crypto, one cannot see the SEC going after him for anything that's being launched with. You have control of it. It's the efforts of others and all those Howey factors that the SEC argued throughout the course of the last 4 years. You can't see that happening. So then what about all the other crypto projects out there that still have that overhang from the SEC from previous cases, current cases, or potentially future cases? well. Some of those are fairly significant, such as your Coinbases, your Krakens, your Robinhoods, and so forth. But probably one of the more significant ones has been the Ripple case.
And let's talk about it. I know you'd be itching to talk about it. You're always itching to talk about it. What has Ripple Labs been doing here in the US? Particularly, you think about the implications for them, as you've said. Like, clearly, we saw significant players from these projects at the inauguration, in the pre-inauguration ball. The thing that was going, the stuff that was going on in that space,
Yeah.
makes it pretty clear that this is no longer an issue. So talk to us about Ripple in particular, or XRP, the token, but Ripple Labs, what they've been doing in that space, and how that might come into play here.
Yeah, well, Ripple Labs, the company, they own or have a lot of significant XRP on their balance sheet, that they're a custodian for. They're supposed to get that out into the market, promoting XRP Ledger to projects and build on the ledger and so forth. So the XRP being the token. So they were gifted that a lot of that back in 2012, 2013, from the founders of the XRP Ledger. Just putting that out there first so people understand the difference between the two. So the CEO, so Ripple's been engaged in a legal battle for the last 4 years, as we know, with the SEC. Gensler has given absolutely zero ground, even though he's taken many losses, and has basically stalled any adoption or technology movement forward, particularly in the US, with regards to anything related to Ripple or XRP. Having said all that, now that this SEC is changed or was changing, you could see the posturing of Ripple starting to look towards the new administration, the new horizon, so to speak. So they were contacting, they were going into the, as you said, the pre-inaugural ball, the crypto ball, which is the first of its kind. Very positive. There were dinners before that, which the CEO and the chief legal officer, Stuart Al-Loradi, attended and had a private dinner with Trump. And there was those images going around in front of the ships and the green candles and so forth, and the bull, and so a lot of signals there, but we won't get into the conspiracies on that one. So there's a lot of movements there before, leading up to this. So one could, and also Ripple donated, I think, $5 million towards the inauguration of Donald Trump as well. So they appear to be very closely linked to the new administration coming in. There seems to be an understanding. One could then project that potentially a deal has been done, as far as anything relating to the SEC or the appeal that's still in place. And with the new administration coming in, with the new SEC coming in, being very pro-crypto, one could see that there's going to be a time where Paul Atkins or the Mark Uwaida is the interim until Atkins gets sworn in. Mark Uwaida, who's very pro-crypto, along with Hester Peirce. You could see what cases are outstanding. Right, this one here, that one there, fine. Which ones are fraud? That one is fraud. Which ones aren't? These aren't. These have no significant basis in fraud whatsoever. In fact, what Ripple were found guilty on in not reporting in the court case was sale to institutional buyers. And you'll know that there was a recent court case saying that if degorgement can't happen if there is no financial loss for the victims. Well, in this case, back in 2013, 14, 15, when Ripple was selling to institutional buyers, well, the price of XRP has gone up since then. So there is no degorgement to happen because there's no financial impact. They're actually in the green. So I could see where it would be a bunch of these put out there. Which ones can we get rid of? Which ones have already been ruled upon? Which ones do we have settlement for? If that is, if settlement's been offered, let's take it. Or in fact, if things go completely mental, and we can't discount that, the whole thing could be dropped. And if that's dropped and the regulatory clarity comes and you've got the SEC who are very pro-crypto, then that opens up another box for Ripple in particular, IPO. And that's something that they haven't been able to do thus far. So what is an IPO? Well, an IPO is an initial public offering for a private company to go public. And if you then work back to where information coming out of the court case was saying that they valued XRP at $0 on their balance sheet. which is interesting. Now, maybe you do that because you don't want to come under the view or the criticism of the SEC. Maybe that's the case. I don't know their accounting situation, but it was marked as zero value. So if that suddenly becomes a situation where the SEC is now approachable for doing an S1 or an IPO, does Ripple revalue that their XRP that they're held? Do they revalue that at current market price? If they do, would that make their business worth a lot more? And if they did that, instead of being $60 a private share at the moment that you can, as an accredited buyer, purchase, does that make their $60 US share price suddenly, instead of being valued at 15 billion, does that make it 150 billion? Does that make it 500 billion? And when you go IPO, does that mean that you are looking at shares now $500-$600, something similar to what Coinbase launched at? I don't know. These are some things that could play out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ripple do an IPO and then start that circus of around the world looking for promoting themselves, obviously their technology. A lot of the things that are NDAs are going to then have to come out because of disclosures, and then that could provide a lot more excitement and momentum around the XRP ledger itself, and indeed previously unknown customers or partnerships that involve XRP and then usage and the XRP ledger. So don't know, but that could play out that way.
Lots of exciting stuff there in the XRP space. And certainly I know you'll be paying close attention to that to keep us updated. But let's wrap this up thinking more broadly about the crypto markets for 2025, because that's one example. And we've got so many of those examples. I mean, there's another person in the office who constantly wants to talk about Hedera and, the HBAR token and what the partnerships and things that they're making. And another one was Ondo, and there's so many, right? Like there's so many that are doing amazing things that potentially in this environment could flourish. But what do you see? Like, let's wrap this up with the biggest challenges and opportunities. But probably the opportunities there is pretty obvious. It's that we've got that 18 in place, we've got the regulatory clarity. It all goes to plan. What are the challenges or potential? I mean, you can't see a black swan coming, but potential things that could unend this or upend this.
Well, coming from a positive side, firstly, I'm just going to work that through. So coming from the positive side, you could have a clear and obvious who regulates what in this space, which could be the SEC doing things such as, well, let's start with the CFTC. The CFTC in charge of crypto. So existing projects, existing technologies, existing assets, clear guidelines, rules of the road, that could then ramp up a lot of activity and so forth, GDP and so forth throughout the world. And adoption, fantastic. Then you've got the SEC side of things, which is interesting in of itself. That so you've got Carolyn Pham, who is a very pro-crypto. She's come into the CFTC as an interim, potentially full-time, but she's had a lot of working arounds with all the companies, getting the insight on where they're going and what they're doing. And I think she'll be a fantastic addition to crypto regulation within the US. But on the SEC side, I don't believe they won't have any impact in this space. I think that potentially they could be doing more of the ICO situation, so the initial coin offerings, so that there are disclosures saying what here are the owners, here's what they're doing. So I don't know if there was people around in 2017 in the ICO craze. It was basically venture capital that was coming in. It was cheap, quick, fast VC action and so forth coming in. So potentially the SEC does that sort of a side of things as far as that VC capital coming in and putting up your Ethereum or your Bitcoin or so forth and starting up new projects, which could be very interesting moving forward. I don't know how they're going to separate that, but what could unravel? I think there's a few questions around Tether. I've heard a few different sides of things with Tether. I've heard that they are ordered. They have all of the assets that they say. The US, the DOJ, maybe they have a deal to buy treasuries, but I think that the way that that stablecoin goes, which does underpin a lot of action and pricing within the crypto as a broadly, as far as a stablecoin goes, it's the biggest stablecoin out there at 130 odd billion or so forth. If that were to suddenly be proven not to have the reserves, and it's a lingering thing, they just haven't come out and shown everyone that they have them. But perhaps the deal is done where they buy treasuries and this all gets pushed under the rug and it's fine to keep going. And that then soaks up treasuries that the US government's obviously going to have to start issuing because they're about to go broke apparently tonight or something similar as far as funding the government. But that could be a black swan that could cause a significant correction, I think. But ultimately, I think we rebound out of that. I think there are other stable coins that are coming to the market that will be just as secure and just as trusted. So
one to watch out for there potentially. But yeah, like we say, we never know what the black swan will be. That's why it's a black swan. But yeah, there's things that you always need to be cautious of. But I think it's fairly safe to say that you've got an optimistic outlook on where we're heading this year, particularly in those emerging tech altcoins that really have not had their opportunity to shine under the previous regulation.
Yeah, Trump's got quite a few executive orders that are apparently coming through probably over the next 100 days. And I think with some clear momentum, clear strategies, clear rules of the road, that this market could have a good push, obviously, and like blowing up a balloon tip, a big push is always going to have that kind of where you have to draw back in. So there might be some corrections along the way, but yeah. So if the liquidity flows, I think crypto will do very well.
Well, look, always appreciate your insights on this. We'll keep getting you back to see how this all unfolds, but it's looking pretty promising for 2025. So let's see how it goes. But thank you for your work on that today, Matt.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tipper.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll chat again soon.